if you're on our radar, we know you can play. We know you're good enough to play here. I think my biggest job right now is being an investigator. But one of my main sayings is your circle is your ceiling. Like I don't care how skilled you are, you gotta have a real level of grit. Man, the journey is if I didn't live it, I wouldn't have believed it.
Jacob Myers here with Texas Tech GM. Buff, man, I really appreciate your time.
My guy Jacob, man, one of the best in the business. I was super excited when you reached out to ask to do this. I respect your work. Sit down talking with you in the gym this summer, man. You do a really good job. You know exactly what you're looking at. And more importantly, you're a good person. So anytime I can sit down and have a conversation with you, man, I'm always willing, man. I appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate that. Respect is definitely mutual. You know, you talk about us being in the gym, some of these grassroots events, Adidas, EYBL, whatever, all these high school events. That's a familiar feeling for you. That's a familiar presence. You spent a lot of time in those gyms over the years. Man, like your journey to where you are it's not like what they put in the little like cookie cutter career path, right? Like kids don't go to school and go to college and be like, I'm going to do it like this, right? So walk us through, your roots of your basketball journey, how you got to where you are now, being a part of, one of the truly budding high major college basketball programs in the country.
No question, man. The journey is if I didn't live it, I wouldn't have believed it because it started coaching seventh grade basketball at T.W. Brown Middle School. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dallas Kimball, players like Keith Frazier. Several players have come out of that program over the years. So I taught at the feeder school for Kimball, and I was teaching seventh grade Texas history, and I wanted to coach basketball. So Coach Summers, one of my mentors still to this day, shout out Zip Summers, he gave me a seventh grade basketball team at T.W. Brown. We ended up going 5-2. It was a 7-game season. I kept that same team next year, and we ended up playing for a city championship that year. Unbelievable experience. I enjoyed it because it was at an inner city school. I grew up in the inner city. I'm from Compton, California. So coaching and teaching those kids were like my coaches and teachers coaching and teaching me. So I used basketball as a vehicle to get these guys to pass all of their classes, and they had never done that before. So we lost in the championship game, but we won because all those guys graduated. They passed every 6 weeks. So I love that group of guys so much. I'm like, I'm going to start an AAU team just so I can keep those guys through high school. And they weren't the best players, but they were good kids, and we had built such a relationship. So the first part of Grassroots was my program called the Blueprint 5. So I ran that out of Dallas, and at one point, I think I had like 8 teams between the ages 8U and 17U. Did that for 5 years, sent a couple of guys Division II. My last class was class of 2018. The last year I coached AAU basketball. But that last summer, I felt like my kids weren't getting enough, not love, because I hate that word when you talk about describing or discussing prospects. I didn't feel like they were getting enough scouting and information put out. They were Division II kids, but that's it's a really good level of basketball, So I said, if I want to like really help, I always wanted to help. So I'm like, I want to help more kids. And it seems like the best way for me to do that is to give up my program and go into scouting. So before I actually started scouting, shout out to my guy, Alvin Brooks at Kentucky now. Like he sat me down one day and was like, hey man, you got a gift. They would come ask me about kids all over Dallas, the ones I wasn't even coaching. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna start a scouting service. My first scouting service was $400 a year. That was my platinum package. And the scouting just completely took off, man. I loved it. I love being in the gym. I love watching players play, and I love watching them grow. Then I had an epiphany with the events. I said, man, if I can get all the best kids at one gym, then I can actually tell who's this and who's that against really good competition. So I threw my first camp. It was called the Next Wave. Crazy. I had Mike Miles in that camp, Ryan Argawal, Anthony Black. It was amazing. Keontae George, Cason Wallace. Like that's when Dallas was loaded. I talk about timing all the time too. It was tremendous timing where I was in that city at that moment. And that was the first camp. And I kind of looked around like, oh snap, we got something. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a tournament. So who want to smoke? That's that. I love who want to smoke. That's gonna always be my baby right there, man. So I threw the first who want to smoke, and Cade Cunningham, Greg Brown, um, Micah Peavy. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't get the refs until like the Thursday before the tournament started Friday. We was able to pull it off, and it was amazing. And I kind of looked around. I'm like, this is it. This is my calling. Like the events and the scouting, and it really just took off from there, man. So I did 5 years doing my scouting service and events. Some of the best times of my life. Like I really watched a lot of really good players and lot of really good families grow up in the gym, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. Shout out to Dallas, Texas, boy. We was getting it done in Dallas.
Definitely a hotbed. When you talk about being in that setting and having a coach like Alvin Brooks, basketball lifer, huge basketball family, being like, hey man, like trying to get your opinion. What do you think were some of the components that you had at that point that you were doing that made people gravitate towards you?
I was telling the truth. I thought it was at a time where Grassroots started to get very promotional, and I was always big on production. So I didn't care what somebody else told me you were doing. I wanted to go watch everybody in every setting and watch what they did. So all I did was write and tell coaches what I saw, not what I wanted to see, only what I saw. So I was big on production, and I was never going to replace production for promotion. There was some really good players coming through here, but I thought some of them had more of a promotional push than what their production actually stated they should have. And I just told people the truth. And believe it or not, Jacob, you know this, man. It's not a lot of people who tell the truth in this. They tell you their truth in hopes to get you to go on their guy for a reason that benefits them. There are some people like there's some really good people in this space, but some really good people trying to sell you a lemon. And I wanted to make sure whatever I told these coaches, they could take back to their head coach or take back to the athletic director and know what I told them they were getting was what they were getting.
We talked about this before, but all those years in Grassroots, we're gonna go your Grassroots survival guide. So you can list as many as you want, but some key bullet points for like prospects, players, families, coaches. It can be difficult waters to navigate, especially for people that don't really have a veteran circle, or they got someone like you who's pouring into them at a young age without asking much from them.
It's really hard, man, because I think a lot of people start off wanting to do it for the right reasons. And then you figure out you can make a couple of dollars in it here and there. And that kind of like drives you to just keep making money from it. I always told people grassroots basketball is it's nasty to a degree, especially the better you are, the murkier the water gets. And you have to find a way to navigate it in a way that's best for you. I think you have to be very careful talking and listening to everybody. I think you have to seek out truth, but it's hard because how do you know who's telling you the truth and for what reason they're telling the truth? What I tell parents is there are some people in grassroots who can help you make decisions because they know basketball, they know the landscape. But ultimately, educate yourself on this process because that's your child. Nobody knows your child better than you to a degree. So in order to navigate this, you should be the one making decisions for your kids. So find out their interests, but that takes you being completely honest with yourself and their ability first. Like what level, what do they do? What do they need to work on? I think it's some very hard conversations that need to take place between parents and players. To kind of figure out how to navigate it, like what's best, like what platform is best for my child. And I tell them all the time, like I've been all over our staff has been all over the country, seeing players from different circuits, and I've seen programs from all over the country in the same gyms. We do not care where you play. We don't. As long as you're in a situation where you can be who you need to be and what you are essentially on that platform, that's going to help us identify you and evaluate you best. But like navigating it, I think you have to be very careful on who you allow into your circle. One of my main sayings is your circle is your ceiling. Like what's around you is going to determine how far you can go and what you can reach as far as your talent level and just with your character. You know what I'm saying? I've seen kids who were just as good as somebody else or even better, but they had a bad circle and they end up going left and the other kid ends up going right. And 3 years from now, we talking about this one kid nobody was talking about. And the other one's kind of faded away because of what was around them and what they were allowed to do. Do not seek everybody telling you great. Like you're great, you're this, like you're elite, you're a pro. That's cool. You might be all of that. But it got to be somebody in there telling you what you got to get better at, what you need to work on, telling you the truth. Do not run from the truth. Don't run from the truth, man. Like you need that to grow. Because honestly, with the high school guys, none of you are good enough today. Like we're projecting for what we think you can be in our programs, and NBA scouts are projecting what they think you can be in the NBA. You have to keep getting better, regardless of where you're ranked, regardless of where you're not ranked. You got to keep getting better. So I always say chase development. Don't chase the rankings. Don't chase the tweets. Don't chase the write-ups. Chase development, man, because you got to keep getting better. That's the key to all this.
100%. So let's say you're a parent, you're a player, a high school coach, and you hear this and you're on that path, right? Like you're like, all right, I want the truth, right? I'm done with this. Like, and they start taking the steps. What are the signs they're actually, going down the right path and they are listening to the right people? They are taking in the right information.
I think you see it in the growth in your game. I think more importantly, you see how you impact winning. Because if you're listening to the right people, they're talking about you about how to impact winning. Because ultimately, that's how you're gonna be graded on all this when it comes down to it. Like I know our staff is big. Like we want high school players who have won state championships, or Adidas championships, or Peace Jam championships, or Under Armour championships, Pro 16 championships. Like we value winners. So if people are talking to you about the right stuff, you're not just focused on scoring the ball. You're not just focused on trying to prove to us that you can play the three when you really are five. Like you're really trying to figure out a way to impact every position in a way that helps your team win. So I think if you're a part of winning teams and you're making winning plays, I think you're definitely on track to development and getting where you're trying to go. When you start being self-serving and you just want to get your game off, or you looking off teammates being a bad teammate, and your parents in the stands, or your uncle or your advisors in the stands talking crazy about other teammates, that's when it gets kind of murky to me.
Definitely, definitely. I think self-awareness is maybe one of the bigger Prospect Greenlights. We're going to get to Greenlights a little bit later in the show. But speaking to you start as an educator, you
Yep.
evolve. You're putting on events. You have your team. You have a service that is serving teams from the West to East Coast, head coaches, some of the biggest programs in college basketball. You make the transition, join Texas Tech. Walk us through how that came to be, and how that process and that transition was for you and your family.
Man, shout out to Grant McCasland, man. Like just an amazing dude who had a vision that I didn't even have for me. Here's the part. Me and Grant, his kids grew up in my tournaments. Jet, who's actually going to be a freshman at Lubbock Christian now, and Beckett, they grew up playing in my event. So all the 5 years I had events, I had a McCasland in my event. So of course UNT took my scouting service. But when Grant was in the gyms, we would always just talk about our families and just we built a relationship like that. But what we knew was we saw people the same way, we saw players the same way, and we both cared about winning. So, like, I don't know if you realize this, Grant McCasland was Anthony Black's first offer at UNT. It was his first basketball offer. And it was a lot of really good players in that class, man. And I was like, yo, something about that one's just like it's different. And he saw it too, like he felt it. So Mac's a winner. He survive. He surrounds himself around dudes who win and know how to win. So they were playing in the NIT. They were getting ready to play in the championship game. I got a phone call from my brother Matty B. Shout out to Matty B, man. He's going to be awesome as a head coach at SFA. Like he is a star. I got a call from Matty B. He was like, "Hey, Um, would you take this job if we left and went to Texas Tech? And I'm like, of course, yes. Like, what are we doing? So this was like in March. Um, I get a call from Matt. Matt calls. He's like, hey, I got this position. If like I want you to do it. What do you think? Yes. I said, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna call my wife later and see what she want to do. But I'm telling you, I'm going. And the one thing I know about Mac, Mac had won everywhere he's ever been. He's a winner. From a JUCO national championship at Midland at 28 years old to D2 at Midwestern State to an assistant at Baylor to Arkansas State. Like the one thing I know about college basketball, like you want to stay in this profession, win. So be around a head coach that you know can find a way to win some games. And I just loved him as a person. You know, who you work for in this industry is so important. And through my scouting service and working with coaches, I kind of knew what a good work environment was and what wasn't. So I did my homework. I talked to some people that had worked for Mac, and they was like, and Mac has a family, you know, so you working, like you gonna grind working with Mac, make no mistake. But like he's not gonna hold you hostage. You gonna be able to spend time with your family and do whatever you need to do. And I was just like, man, Texas Tech. And one thing I know about Tech from scouting, I knew they had resources. And with NIL coming through, I'm like, okay, I got a coach who can win games at a high level. He's won everywhere he's been. And we got resources to go get done what we get done. I'm like, this is it. And I was ready to get out of grassroots, believe it or not. You know, like I thought we were doing a really good job. Just the events had become so cumbersome, like everything was getting so expensive. And I started to feel like we were actually pricing out family. So I'm like, I don't know how we can keep doing this with the resources we have. Like we did everything just based on the fees we got. We didn't get a lot of donors, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like this is it. I'm like general manager, and I'm trying to figure out like what is, and it's like roster construction, it's scouting, it's putting pieces of a puzzle together. And I needed a new challenge, Jacob. Like I needed something else, but I wanted to stay around the game, and I wanted to stay in Texas. And Grant had an idea nobody else thought of, including myself. And I'm forever grateful to that dude for that, man. Forever grateful.
That's awesome. Three things that stuck me there. First thing you said is, you saw players and saw families same way, right?
But like with Mac, like Mac's big on character and what type of teammate you are. We'll talk about this in the letter, but I feel like that's why we've done such a good job with players a lot of people aren't familiar with, because a 3-star to somebody else could be 6 stars to us just based on the intangible piece of who they are as a person.
Next thing you said was you need another challenge, right? You felt
Yep.
like you maxed out what you could do at that level. The third thing being the role, right? GM, roster construction, connecting the dots. So, general manager obviously in college sports is new. It
Yep.
varies from team. These past 2 seasons, like what does that look like for you as general manager at Texas Tech? And what are some of the things you really hang your hat on and what you bring to the table on a daily basis?
I think my biggest job, like, cause at this rate, like if you on our radar, we know you can play. We know you're good enough to play here. I think my biggest job right now is being an investigator, like investigating who these people are, who the people are around them, what makes them tick. Do they really love basketball? You know, like we really take, like you gotta love it because it's a grind. I don't think people realize how long the college basketball season is. I didn't. Like I believe it's the longest athletic season in college sports.
Both
Like
semesters.
yeah, like it ranges, like just the beginning of games to start. We play our first game November the 4th this year. And if we do this thing the right way, you finish, the first or second weekend in April. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a long season. So you want guys who really enjoy being a part of a team, that really love working on their games and winning. Like that's the key. So we got such a good staff with Linder and AC and Rim now and Todrick Gocher who played at Texas Tech. So these guys are really good scouts. Like I tell people all the time, like I thought I was one of the better grassroots scouts while I was doing it. Like in my opinion, of course I'm biased, but like being around Linder and Mac and AC and Rim and Chris Nottingham and all these guys in our office, like we bounce so many ideas off each other. Like it's easy to find players now. So what we do, like I feel like I investigate. I try to figure out what the market is for some of these guys, and what we're willing to pay and what somebody else is thinking about paying. So it's a lot, man, but I feel like it's way more investigative work. Like I'm checking their social media, I'm checking their parents' social media, I'm checking their girlfriend's social media if she got one. Like just trying to figure out clues on how do I get this young man to grow as a person or a player if this is who we decide we want. And I don't know if people realize like we don't offer a lot of players. We don't chase a lot of guys because we look for fit. We look for fit and we value stuff other people don't value, and people we might not value stuff other people value. So it's a lot of investigative work and a lot of relationship building for sure.
Yeah, so let's bounce off that. We're gonna go quick hitters, prospect green lights. We'll start with on the court. When you're looking at a prospect, what are the green lights? What I mean by green lights, like qualities that for you and as an evaluator, someone that has, years and years of experience, you've seen players from, fifth grade to the NBA, right? Like you maybe even lower, third grade, second grade. You've seen the blueprint, right? For lack of a better word. So on the court, skill set wise, production, etc., physical tools, what are the prospect green lights for you?
We're looking for a translatable skill. I'm sure people don't watch us play now, man. We value shooting. Like can you really make a shot? Um, are you versatile? Can you guard up a spot? Can you guard down a spot? Um, Positional size. Playing in the Big 12. I tell you all the time, like playing that NCAA tournament, making that run we made. Playing those SEC teams. It's like, man, like we got to get bigger. Like last year, I thought our team was small, but we were super skilled. So you're looking at positional size, and then like if they miss a shot, are they still getting back defensively? Does it take them out of the game? If a teammate makes a pass to them and they make or miss a shot, do they tell that teammate good pass that made that pass? Are they excited for their team when somebody else does something? Do they impact winning? And more importantly, toughness. Like I don't care how skilled you are, you got to have a real level of grit and toughness to grind out some of these wins. Because I know it looks fun on TV. These games are physical, man. Like it's a lot of days in the Big 12 twice a week. You are running into a wall. So I want to see after that first initial hit of physical contact, do they go backwards and kind of stop, or can they kind of play through somebody's chest? That's what we're looking for. So a level of physicality, competitiveness, skill, and positional size.
I like it. And I think you ended it perfectly because you translated to our next section, which is off the court, mental makeup, talk about toughness, talk about grit. I mean, that's $1 million word there, right there, grit. So now off the court as a player, how they treat people, etc. Their circle, what are the prospect green lights off the court?
Coachability. Like we'll spend a lot of time talking to AAU coaches and high school coaches, trying to figure out like can they handle adversity when it gets hard. Like I don't care how good you are as a freshman. At some point you're going to have a tough game. You're going to have a tough practice. You're going to have a tough day. How do they respond to that? How do they take coaching? Are they a leader? Can they get guys in the right spots and pick them up after somebody has a negative play? Interaction off the floor. Like one of Mac's greatest questions is, who's your favorite teammate and why? Like what type of people do you like playing with, and why did you like playing with them? We want to know that people like playing with you. And their parents, like how they are with their parents, their friend circle, the whole nine. So we evaluate all that. I honestly think that's why we don't recruit as many, because we spend so much time evaluating the ones we really do want.
Yeah, I respect that. I think honestly, right now, that's a huge separator. I think something that's happened, you know it more in detail, but like, me being in college basketball and high major level, doing what I'm doing now, where I'm covering nationally prospects from high school to the NBA, you know, offers get thrown around like hotcakes. So when you talk about the alignment between the staff, even new guys like Rem getting in there and being collaborative and, you know, voicing your opinion and learning from each other. When you have that and you're actually, like you said, being investigative and understanding the mental makeup of the players, I mean, it's no surprise you guys have had early success, right? Because, I mean, that's what the NBA teams do, right? We talk about building out a front office. It's like,
Yeah.
you need different opinions. I mean, a guy like Rem, he's been a part of winning for 8-9 years.
Question.
Elite coaches, other guys in your staff, like everyone has been a part of winning, but it's looked very different. So when you combine everyone together, it's like you got this huge brain to build off of. But nah, I love that. I think off of that, we talk about truth telling, toughness, grit, some of the ways that people in the player's family can help them develop. Let's talk about like superstar qualities. So you've seen some high level players. What are the superstar qualities where you're watching a kid, probably, maybe high school, maybe it's a one and done kid in the Big 12, whether it's on your team or you're playing against them? Like, what are some of the qualities you see? You're like, yeah. I think I was at Formula Zero last week, and Coach Oz, longtime NBA guy,
Yeah,
he says, you either have it or you don't.
no
And
doubt.
some guys have it in, a really high level capacity. So what are some of the things for you in your experience that really like click?
I think the superstar qualities, and I'll take two that I'm familiar with because it's two different ones. So when JT Toppin was in high school, he just was uberly productive. Like, you didn't have to give him the ball for him to go get a double double. So what he would do he would just do his job every possession, which was rebound and finish around the rim. It didn't matter who he was playing with. It didn't matter what team he was on. It didn't matter what was going on. He would just put his head down every possession and do what needed to be done. That's why I was so high about that kid coming out of high school. I'm like, yo, like this production is crazy. But like it's just the attention to do what your team needs you to do over and over and over and over again. I think that's a superstar quality. Whether you are a role player or an elite player, one of the best players in college basketball, then you take somebody like Christian Anderson, where Chris is just a tireless worker who loves basketball, that has he's played so much basketball, as far as FIBA and in the US. And it's crazy because both of those guys were like fringe top 100 kids. Go back and look at their rankings. Like they were fringe guys, and a lot of people thought they were undersized for their positions. A lot of people, they were young for their class too. So I like that young high school prospect. I know we talk about a lot about the portal, and we've done a really good job in the portal. We have, but that young senior that has found a way to be productive against their peers who are most times a year or a year and a half older than them, and their impact in winning, that's a superstar weight, man. Like those young seniors, the ones that are like 17 years old, still just turning 18, those are the ones I think. But as far as like the qualities, I think your work ethic and your love for the game is what takes a couple of fringe top 100 guys like JT and Chris, and it turns them into what some people think are some of the best players in college basketball at this point. But they work, they take coaching, and there's a level of physicality and toughness when the game is on the line where they can get to another level because of their work ethic, because of how much they love basketball, how much they care about winning. So to me, it's how much you care about winning. Do you love basketball? And do you work your tail off at getting better individually and what your team needs you to do to win basketball games?
Yeah, I think those are perfect fitting examples when you talk about love for the game and like an unwavering, relentless kind of spirit or motor. I mean, JT Toppin is a perfect example in all college basketball. I talk about a guy. I mean, how many 15 rebound plus games he had last year? Like walking double double, someone
Yep.
that is just impacts their will every second of the game. But I think a big, across basketball and off basketball, a big point you've talked about is like growth, right? Like when you left Grassroots to join a college basketball team, it was about growth. When you're looking for players, you want growth trajectory, you want growth mindset. So for you as an evaluator, where do you feel like you've grown the most over your years?
I feel like the hardest thing for me to do at first was the collaboration. Because Jake, like as a scout with you now, when you feel good about a guy, you can go. You don't really have to bounce it off of too many different people. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like that was probably the hardest thing for me at first. Like, yo, like this the one. Let's go. Let's do it. But I think it was also the best thing for me. It's helped me grow the most. Like being able to be around a basketball mind like Jeff Linder every day, like you learn so much, just of what to look for. And Grant just being a head coach since he was 26, they've given me so many different nuggets. Like they were the ones that taught me, like, yo, Like, make sure these dudes are giving everybody a 5 coming out of these timeouts. Like, and if they not dapping up their teammates, if they kind of staying away from the rest of the team, like that might be a red flag to a degree. They just watch so much basketball. AC, post grad head coach at Sunrise, he's been around so much basketball realm as a player at Gonzaga. Like it's just so much you can learn from all these different guys. And now with so much money involved, you need to be on the same page about what you feel like role, responsibility, projection. You need all that. And you have to bounce that off of each other at this point. So the collaboration, like to me, that's been an area of growth, in my opinion, for me. Just being able to learn from guys. Like Jacob, you're a one-man band right now, and that's cool, but people don't realize how hard that is. Like I have more help than I've ever had. You see my son back here. Ooh, back.
He's talking
Uh,
about collaboration. He
yeah,
wants to, he
so
got some takes.
you have that, and just being around really good basketball minds, sharp basketball minds every day has really helped me grow as a person and a general manager and a scout.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You talk about on the onset of the show, you talked about when you put on those events, you didn't have the refs till Friday or Thursday for a Friday, right?
I had no clue what I was doing, man. I just know I
Yeah,
had good teams and good players.
yeah. Well, sometimes that's all you need.
No doubt.
But yeah, kind of leaning into more so like Texas Tech. Last year Elite Eight run, playing late in the tournament.
Yep.
Really dominant like span of games. End the season really well. We talked about, I was watching some catching up on some film pre-draft, and I was watching one of your earlier games in the season, and I was like, man, like, my roots, something I appreciate the most. I watch a lot of college basketball, right? When you see a team in November and you see them in March or April, and you see that growth, like that is what college basketball is about. That's what basketball is about. I mean, you talk about being an educator, and you were 5-2, but the guys graduated, right? Like the progress, the growth. So for you guys to do that, and then also how the portal is now
Oh man.
to retool while you're also playing in the Elite Eight. Walk us through that, because that's difficult, man. I don't think people realize you're on the plane back from a game, and you're having to talk about the collaboration is important. You're having to balance so many different things at once.
It like going through it 2 years in a row, because the first year we lost to NC State in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and I think we lost late on the Friday night. The NCAA let us stay. We flew back Saturday morning, and we was right back in that office trying to figure out who to retain and who to acquire. Now this last one was completely different because we played so late into the season. And at the beginning, I'm gonna be completely honest. At the beginning, I was kind of trying to figure out like how can I do this portal and still be where my feet are. And the one thing about college basketball, I don't care what program you're in, you're never going to coach the same team year to year. It's not going to happen. It's just too much. It's a different model now. And we were in Wichita. We beat Drake. And I'm like, man, we really going to the Sweet 16. And I have been calling a couple of people in between now and then trying to figure out. And it got to a moment where I said, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I am going to soak all of this in, because people go their whole career and don't go to a Sweet 16 or Elite Eight or a Final Four, win a national championship. And I said, you know what? I wanna be in this moment with our guys and give them everything that they need to keep them focused, for us to keep winning these games and being competitive. And I stopped. I stopped dealing with the portal once we got to the Sweet 16. I did. Like people would call and I would still take calls and all that, but I wasn't trying to put next year's team together, because we really believe we had a team that could win the whole thing. We did, and we wanted to be all hands on deck for that. And I remember us being down to Arkansas, and I'm like, man, and it slowly creeps into your mind. I'm speaking for me. I'm being completely transparent. It's like, dang, I don't want this to be over, because the moment your season ends now, you have to immediately turn the page and figure out who's going to be on your team. Like it's literally on the plane ride home. Like it is. And it's a weird feeling, man. Like it forces you to turn the page. And you saw the game against Florida; it was a tough loss. Like it was hard, and you have to immediately turn the page to figure out what's next. But I would tell you this: there is no better recruiting tool than winning in March. That helped us a whole lot as far as being able to put this roster together, man. So, but it's hard. Like balancing both emotionally was hard. Like the job wasn't hard. It's just like, man, I love these dudes. Like this is probably gonna be the last time. Like Chance McMillan was a senior, Kerwin was a senior, Elijah Hawkins. Like you know those three you wasn't getting back, and it was such a big part of our team, especially Chance and Kerwin, with them being there multiple years. And Kerwin was there before we got there. So I'm like, I owe these dudes. I owe these dudes to spend all of my time and all of my energy with them, making sure they right to get ready to play these games instead of trying to put something together for next year.
Yeah, I think that's admirable. It's an impossible act. I mean, you talk about being present in that. I mean, being present, period, for people is difficult. Talk about being present when you're on the verge of like two different timelines for potentially two different championship teams, right? Because you always have to think about building. We're not going to give away too many of the keys to you guys' team this year. We'll let you jump up on people. But
Yep.
before we go, I got a couple quick hitters. Feel versus instincts as an evaluator. How do you compare the two?
Instincts, I feel like if you're an uber athlete, you can be instinctual. Like you can put your feet down and pick them back up in a quick spot. Like it's instincts. You're reacting. I think IQ is direction. I think IQ is more directing where everything is going. And I think feel is directing where everything is going. I think instinct is reacting. Like high IQ is so rare these days. Like feel and just knowing where you're supposed to go, when you're supposed to cut, when you're supposed to space. Like those are things that I think you see harder to identify when you go to some of these grassroots events. So when you find it, that's what grows to me. Like feel you can grow. Um, and that's what we like. Now you gotta have some movers. You gotta have some jokers that can move in tight spaces and just jump straight up over somebody. And you really need to have a balance of both. The special ones have both. The special ones have both, but like I'm a definitely a field guy.
Last thing before we go, you've had a lot of success, past decade, long standing. You've had a really successful career in basketball, general manager at Texas Tech, one of the most budding national programs in the country in college basketball. What's a moment that sticks out to you where I don't want to say it's like, oh, I made it, right? Because like everyone has a growth mindset. It's always on to the next thing. But is there a moment that sticks out to you? Maybe it's with your family, maybe it's your kids, where like you had a really like cool moment where you're like, man, like this is special.
Man, when we had that comeback from against Arkansas, my oldest son was with me because my whole family was with me, but he was sitting right behind the bench, and I remember going to him after winning that game, and like he was in tears, like he was just so happy to be a part of that moment. And like people don't realize, man, when you work in college basketball, your families are working in college. Like they see the sacrifice, they see the stress, they see the success, they see everything. The dark days, the good days. Just sharing that moment with my oldest son, because he was around those teams when I was coaching seventh grade basketball. He was around. He played on one of my teams on my 8 and under team for the Blueprint Five, and he helped with the TV5 reports with the scouting and events. But to share that moment with him right after a big win like that, and just to embrace each other, that's why I was like, "Yo, this is special." But I still walk into my job every day, going into year 3, pinching myself for still being able to have this opportunity and just working with good people. And I feel like we've got Tech in a position now where we should be able to compete for national championships every year. Like that's the standard. A lot of people talk about the golden era of Texas Tech athletics. I know our administration, all of our athletic programs, we all feel like this is the standard here in Lubbock and at Texas Tech now, and we operate in it every day. So I will leave y'all with this. When you walk into these rooms, know you're supposed to be in there, but have enough humility to know you can be put out of there at some point too. So keep working your tail off, do whatever it was that got you here, and find ways to grow and work with other people. Because if you really want to do something at a high level, it's going to require you to work with some other good people, man. I'm just fortunate that I work with great people in a great place, man. Hey, I like my team this year too. I really do.
I, I like y'all too. No better way to close it. Buff, I appreciate your time. This was
No doubt.
awesome. Always great to talk, and wishing the best for you guys this season.
Jake, appreciate you, man. We got to get you out to a game, bro.